Shenxiang was born as the ultimate heir to the Shen bloodline. But without a single spirit vein, society cast him aside as utter trash. Yet, this weak boy refused to surrender to his cursed fate. Day after grueling day, he tempered his mortal flesh, throwing endless punches until his knuckles bled. But peace was a luxury he didn't have. His arrogant cousin swaggered in to shatter his reality. Spitting venom, the tyrant mocked Shenxiang as worse than a stray dog. The worst part? Because of this crippled son, his incredibly powerful father was stripped of his right to rule the clan. The humiliation was a toxic pill Shenxiang refused to swallow. Rage blazed in his eyes like hellfire. He lunged forward like a madman, launching a desperate attack. But reality was cruel. His mortal fists couldn't even scratch his cousin's aura shield. Crack! Shenxiang's hand shattered upon impact. The tyrant had already reached the formidable fifth realm of martial arts. How could a boy with zero spiritual energy ever dream of defeating such a monster? A single, devastating punch sent our hero eating the dirt. But the sadistic cousin wasn't done playing. He unleashed a brutal, merciless beatdown. Shenxiang's broken body crashed violently against the stone wall. Then, the absolute bastard charged up his ultimate killing strike, aiming straight to reap his soul. Boom! A terrifying shockwave ripped through the courtyard. You might think this is where our protagonist meets his maker. But miraculously, his father intervened just in time to block the lethal blow. Even so, the patriarch couldn't punish the arrogant brat. Sorrow crashed over Shenxiang in devastating waves. He loathed his own pathetic weakness. He was nothing but a heavy curse dragging his father down. Consumed by shadows, he locked himself in his dark room, shutting out the entire world. He even refused to see his beautiful fiancée. Now, this girl was fiercely devoted. She didn't care that her man was a crippled outcast. She desperately wanted to honor their sacred vow. But Shenxiang's father saw the cruel truth of their dark reality. He refused to let the marriage proceed. Why? Because she was a literal goddess among mortals, the absolute pride of her noble family, a peerless martial genius, while his son was just the dirt beneath her shoes. In this brutal, blood-soaked era, fairy tale romances meant absolutely nothing. Marriages were cold transactions, controlled entirely by power and clan politics. Hidden in the shadows, Shenxiang heard every single heartbreaking word. The shame ignited a terrifying determination within him. He swore upon his very soul. He would claw his way to absolute power. He would defy the heavens, conquer death itself, and rewrite his miserable fate. Driven by this dark obsession, he gambled his pathetic life, venturing into the forbidden graveyard known as the Immortal Demon Cliff. He hunted for a legendary, fate-altering herb. After endless days of hellish searching, he finally laid eyes upon the ultimate prize. The hellish spirit river flower, a demonic treasure that blooms only once every year. If forged into a divine elixir, it could force a terrifying bodily evolution, allowing even a crippled mortal to smash right through to the fifth realm, bypassing the need for a spirit vein entirely. Trembling with anticipation, Shenxiang finally plucked the demonic bloom. But the heavens despise those who cheat fate. Crack! A blinding lightning bolt struck the very earth. The mountain crumbled, sending a catastrophic avalanche of massive boulders straight toward him. He desperately clung to a tiny, crumbling ledge. But the heavens were playing a cruel joke. The stone snapped, and he plummeted endlessly into the suffocating, pitch-black abyss. Sometime later, his consciousness slowly flickered back online. He was certain he had crossed the gates of hell. But wait, instead of cold dirt, he was sprawled on top of two unimaginably gorgeous women. Talk about finding heaven at the bottom of the abyss. An icy voice instantly shattered the mood. Little demon, if you don't get off me this instant, I will personally send you to the afterlife. Panic setting in, our boy scrambled back, bowing and apologizing profusely to the deadly beauties. But the stunning white-haired girl rolled her eyes with absolute disgust. I thought a hero had finally descended to our rescue. But what did fate send us? A pathetic little mortal with zero spiritual talent. She clicked her tongue in sheer annoyance, forcefully ordering him to address her as beautiful sister. With a heavy sigh, she revealed the nightmarish reality of their trap. They were locked deep within the immortal demon domain, surrounded by a lethal, rotting miasma. Escaping this hellscape required an invincible physical body and overwhelmingly destructive energy. Both goddesses were severely wounded. To make matters worse, the bottom of this abyss was the hunting ground of nightmarish monstrosities. The silent, dark-haired goddess was bleeding out, hovering right at death's door. Desperate to be useful, Xiang eagerly offered his hard-earned demonic flower, but her cold gaze dismissed him. It's completely useless. Mortal weeds cannot heal the scars of gods. Don't waste your breath on pointless efforts. Sooner or later, this abyss will become our permanent tomb. But Xiang wasn't about to let despair win. Channeling his inner charm, he decided to shoot his shot right in the face of the Reaper. A goddess as breathtaking as you, dying without ever experiencing true romance? That is the real tragedy. You absolutely cannot become a lonely ghost in this dark pit. Amused by this utterly fearless mortal, the two goddesses exchanged a knowing look. Fine. They would gamble on his mortal medicine. The dark-haired goddess coldly untied her robes, letting the silk slip away to reveal her flawless, jade-like back. Xiang's brain short-circuited. Blushing like a madman, he instantly covered his eyes, violently shaking his head to refuse the temptation. But the white-haired trickster wasn't letting him off the hook. Oh my, we are just so severely injured. We can't even lift our poor little arms to apply the medicine. She whined, completely ignoring the fact that she was literally waving her hand in the air right then. Talk about a shameless lie. Trapped by their dangerous games, our boy had no choice but to obey the terrifying goddesses. But little did he know, the dark-haired beauty was secretly chanting a sinister demonic art. She wanted to drag out the darkest, most primal lust, hidden deep within his mortal soul. Suddenly, his mind went terrifyingly blank. An invisible puppeteer hijacked his body. His trembling hands moved on their own, dangerously caressing her flawless skin. But right at the edge of the abyss, his iron willpower shattered the mental chains. He snatched his hands back, sweating profusely as he bowed in sheer panic. Surprisingly, the lethal beauties didn't incinerate him. Instead, a chilling smile crept across her face. Congratulations, mortal. You have passed the trial of the soul. Had your hands wandered even an inch lower, your head would already be rolling on the floor. With the deadly test over, they finally revealed their earth-shattering identities. The silver-haired trickster was the legendary Nine Heavens divine maiden, and the dark-haired queen was the terrifying Nine Underworld demoness. Betrayed and ambushed by supreme entities, their cosmic foundations were shattered, trapping them in this graveyard of gods. They had fully accepted this dark abyss as their final resting place. But looking at this incredibly stubborn mortal, a crazy plan formed. They offered to implant him with the ultimate yin and ultimate yang divine veins. If he could force these opposing cosmic forces to fuse, he could obliterate the death aura of the immortal demon pool, carving a bloody path out of hell. But this wasn't a fairy tale power-up. Forcing God's blood into a mortal vessel was pure suicide. The agony would be unimaginable, and the odds of his body violently exploding were basically guaranteed. They warned him to think carefully before embracing certain death. But Xiang didn't even blink. His eyes burned with an insane, undying hunger for power. If it meant crawling out from the absolute bottom of the food chain, he would gladly spit in the face of the Reaper. Take my worthless life if you must, but I will become a god. Without hesitation, they forged a blood pact binding their souls for eternity. The two supreme goddesses initiated the forbidden ritual, channeling the absolute polar extremes of yin and yang directly into his fragile mortal core. It was pure, unadulterated hell. Xiang felt his flesh melting from the inside out. His frail meridians stretched to the absolute breaking point as he let out a soul-tearing scream of pure agony. But the universe wasn't done torturing him. Attracted by the scent of divine blood, the apex predator of the abyss arrived. A colossal, nightmarish beast smashed through the darkness. The demonic guardian of the hellish flora. A terrifying monstrosity far beyond the seventh martial realm. With the goddesses stripped of their supreme power, they were basically sitting ducks. Panic flashing in her eyes, the white-haired maiden screamed at the boy. Cut the connection. Give up the power, or you'll die right now. But the word surrender had been erased from his dictionary the day he was born a cripple. Even if the Reaper himself comes for my soul, I will never back down. His absolute refusal echoed through the cavern, as his ruined body finally gave out. He blacked out, plunging into a death-like coma. But then, the miracle of infinite resurrection began. The fatal wounds tearing his flesh apart started stitching themselves back together at a terrifying speed. The impossible had happened. The divine fusion was a success. Now, it was a desperate race against time. The two weakened goddesses had to face down the abyssal nightmare alone. If they could just hold the line for the time it takes to drink a single cup of tea, the newborn monster behind them would awaken, and they would all survive, moving like flashes of divine lightning. They launched a desperate, synchronized assault, but the demonic beast's armor was as thick as a mountain. Their weakened strikes bounced off like pebbles. Swoosh! A catastrophic tail swipe smashed into them, drawing supreme blood. In their golden age, a mere breath from these queens would have erased this oversized lizard from existence. But right now, they were fighting a losing battle of pure survival. The monster ignored the gnats, turning its murderous red eyes toward the unconscious boy. In a desperate gamble, the dark-haired demoness unleashed her soul-shattering demonic chains, violently wrapping around the beast's massive limbs. But her strength was fading fast. Crack! The chains snapped, and the demoness was ruthlessly swatted into the cavern walls. It was the ultimate endgame. Only a miracle could save them now. Boom! An apocalyptic shockwave erupted from the dirt. The colossal nightmare beast was violently blasted backward. From the dust, a new god arose. Shen Xiang had conquered death itself. His entire immortal shell was radiating a blinding, terrifying aura. A massive, rotating yin-yang mandala materialized right behind him, projecting absolute, suffocating dominance. The supreme divine veins had fully synchronized. He could feel a terrifying, world-ending power surging through his newly forged, undying blood. A wicked smirk crawled across his face as the ultimate euphoria of power kicked in. "Thank you for the gift, my beautiful queens," he whispered into the darkness. Now, it was time to use this overgrown lizard as a bloody punching bag. Moving faster than the eye could track, he vanished into thin air. Swooping in gracefully, he scooped both stunning goddesses into his strong arms, effortlessly dodging a lethal magma blast. Now that is how a true supreme overlord makes an entrance. Setting them down safely, he exploded forward like a screaming comet. He unleashed a devastating, bone-crushing hook straight at the monster's skull. Clang! The physical impact did absolutely zero damage. The beast retaliated with a terrifying infernal roar, blasting a sea of hellfire that sent our hero scrambling back like a rookie. Watching this embarrassing display, the divine maiden screamed from the sidelines. Even a mindless beast knows how to channel its energy. You absolute blockhead. Why are you fighting a magical monster with just your bare, mortal fists? Cut the guy some slack. It was his first day ever possessing actual spiritual energy. Realizing his massive blunder, he closed his eyes, drawing upon the infinite, resurgent power within his soul. His fist ignited in a blinding flash of golden, holy fury. This time, he didn't dodge. He met the colossal beast's charge head-on. Bam! The golden shockwave utterly shattered the monster's skull, driving it straight into the dirt. A perfect, undisputed, one-punch execution. The beast's agonizing shriek echoed through the cavern. The structural integrity of the area was completely collapsing. Out of time, Miao tossed him an ancient spatial ring. A single drop of his blood bound the artifact. The two mysterious beauties vanished into the pocket dimension to escape the catastrophic destruction. Within this sealed space, our main character prepared a massive wooden tub. It was time for the goddesses to bathe. Their true identities were a complete death sentence. If the world knew they existed, an absolute bloodbath would follow. He turned to stand guard outside, but they stopped him. They told him to just keep his back turned. In a life-or-death situation like this, keeping his eyes forward was pure torture. Then, Miao called him closer, pressing her slender finger directly against his forehead. A surge of primordial knowledge exploded in his mind. The four symbols divine technique. She transferred her profound cultivation memories directly into his consciousness, bypassing years of tedious learning. "Just follow the forbidden path," she commanded. He sat cross-legged and focused his spirit. Almost instantly, a blazing flame ignited within his meridians. His monstrous talent allowed him to cross the threshold in mere seconds. This heaven-defying speed left even Miao utterly speechless. He could sense the overwhelming superiority of their technique. It was paired with an ultimate alchemy inheritance that defied all common sense. He realized their former power must have been terrifying, at least the 9th stage of the mortal realm before their tragic fall. But they just laughed at his ignorance. Silly little brother. The mortal realm is just the starting line. Above it lies the true martial realm, the nirvana realm, and domains beyond mortal comprehension. This entire divine martial continent is nothing but a speck of dust in the vast cosmos. But with his awakened yin-yang divine vein, ascending to absolute godhood in this lower world would be as easy as breathing. Emerging from the water, their breathtaking beauty defied the heavens. Baiyu made a dark promise. She would pass down her absolute demonic arts to him, but his physical vessel needed heavy tempering first. or the abyssal power would completely shatter him. Suddenly, a frantic voice echoed from the outside world. It was his father. Finding his reckless son alive at the edge of the deadly immortal cliff was a total miracle. The girls remained perfectly hidden within the dimensional ring. With just one glance, his father froze in shock. Tears of overwhelming joy streamed down the old man's face. His son's shattered spirit vein had awakened, and he possessed the legendary Hell Spirit Mushroom. The heavens had not abandoned their fading bloodline. With this newfound trump card, he urged his father to seize the clan head throne. Their confident laughter echoed into the night. Exactly 1 week later, at the Spirit Pill Pavilion, our overpowered protagonist had completely mastered the flame of true chi. He came seeking alchemy materials for a rapid level up, but the prices here were absolute daylight robbery. Even garbage-tier foundational pills cost a staggering 5,000 silver coins. For a broke underdog like him, buying basic ingredients was an impossible dream. But Miao revealed a heaven-defying system hack. He could just grow them. Normal spiritual herbs take 3 grueling years to mature. But with a former supreme alchemy venerable guiding him, the rules of reality no longer applied. He confidently approached the merchant counter. "Give me 5 sets of azure spirit grass and blood origin flower saplings." Just then, the arrogant cousin Shen Zhenhua blocked his path. "You useless trash! You actually have money for herbs?" Clinging to his arm was Hua Yunyun, the spoiled daughter of the city lord. This pathetic bastard was intentionally provoking our main character, just to stroke his own ego in front of a woman. But our hero didn't even blink. He treated the arrogant young master like invisible air, humiliated and treated like an absolute clown. Veins popped on the cousin's forehead as he lunged forward with murderous intent. But his attack struck nothing but a phantom afterimage. The cousin stumbled in pure shock. Our hero smirked. "Cultivating chi without tempering the body? Your speed is pitifully pathetic. No wonder you're completely impotent." Driven mad by rage, Zhenhua unleashed his full cultivation base into a devastating punch. Bam! Our main character caught the fist with casual ease. "Your true chi is absolute garbage. Let me show you how real power is wielded." A terrifying shockwave erupted from his body. The overwhelming pressure paralyzed the young master instantly. The fierce wind even blew the female bystanders' skirts up in the air. A classic power flex. Before blood could be shed, the pavilion manager intervened with heavy killing intent. "There will be no brawling here. I am merely disciplining my foolish relative," our hero stated with icy calm. He locked eyes with his cousin. "I challenge you to a death match at the upcoming clanhead selection." Zhenhua accepted with a sinister sneer. He was overflowing with arrogant confidence. The elders had secretly taught him the spirit tier, martial art, the heaven sun chopping axe. Once he mastered this devastating technique, crushing this former trash would be like stepping on an ant. As they vanished from the hall, an imposing silhouette materialized from the shadows. It was the enigmatic master of the Spirit Pill Pavilion. He noted the boy's monstrous talent with fire chi, a perfect seedling for alchemy. Yet, shockingly, he refused to recruit him. Instead, he issued a dark decree to every alchemist in Crouching Tiger City. Anyone who teaches that boy the art of pill refining will face severe consequences. But the foolish old man had no idea. Our overpowered hero already possessed the ultimate divine inheritance. Back in his desolate courtyard, he focused on cultivating his newly bought saplings. Their growth rate was terrifyingly fast. Thanks to Miao's supreme cultivation methods, harvest time dropped to a mere 3 days. This was practically a reality glitch. She had taught him to gather the legendary dragon saliva, a divine essence forged from the vital energy of heaven and earth. Though his current output was still weak, it was more than enough to mutate these mortal-tier herbs. Once his cultivation breaks through the bottleneck, accelerating the growth of 1,000-year spiritual herbs will be effortless. Suddenly, the temptress leaned close with a wicked smile, suggesting a dual cultivation method involving mouth-to-mouth chi transfer. Was this legendary beauty trying to claim him? Despite her breathtaking curves and flawless face, our hero ruthlessly rejected the dangerous temptation. She huffed in indignant anger. "I was merely joking. A brat like you couldn't handle me anyway." With the mutated herbs finally harvested, the time had come to forge his first immortal pill. But his preparation ritual was completely bizarre. He had to buy an absolute mountain of pastries. The 2 sealed goddesses were demanding tribute for their endless appetites. Since pill refinement takes immense time, keeping his divine mentors fed was crucial. Following the forbidden mental blueprint, his consciousness was violently ripped from his body. He materialized in an unknown void, the divine realm, A gargantuan flaming beast stood guard in the abyssal darkness. What the hell was this nightmare? 𝑚I soul projection appeared. You actually breached the divine realm this quickly? Impressive. This is the absolute peak of alchemy training. An isolated dimension forged within the mind by my supreme master. Here, your connection to the primordial flame is magnified to a terrifying degree. Training in this void yields 10 times the results of the mortal world. But that colossal firebird is a mythical bifang constructed from pure true qi. Only by conquering its trial will you earn the right to refine top-tier pills. Our overpowered protagonist just grinned with absolute swagger. Taming mythical beasts is my specialty. But he severely underestimated the Guardian's wrath. Without warning, a catastrophic fireball the size of a meteor plummeted toward him. If it struck, his soul would be incinerated into absolute nothingness. He rapidly condensed his own explosive true qi, forming a blazing shield to intercept the devastating impact. The trial tested his absolute precision. He had to match the exact resonance of the attack to neutralize it. But the nightmare was just He unleashed a roaring fireball. Yet, Shenxiang's gathered qi failed to pierce the darkness. The monstrous birds tore his flesh apart once again, but this agonizing cycle of death was exactly what he needed. Observing their varying sizes, the truth finally clicked in his mind. He needed to unleash qi of different purities to counter them. It was the very core of alchemy. Just like controlling the abyssal flames, he had to constantly shift the intensity of his power. For 7 grueling days, he endured an infinite loop of slaughter and resurrection. Torn apart by the beasts, reborn to fight again, and today was the day of destiny. The Shen clan's patriarch succession tournament had finally arrived. A massive crowd gathered to witness the blood-stained politics. A martial artist at the 8th level of the martial realm sneered at Shen Tianhu. He viciously targeted the main character's father, mocking Shenxiang as utter trash who failed to awaken his spirit veins. Claiming Tianhu had no right to compete in this brutal arena. The entire Crouching Tiger City knew of this humiliation. "My son possesses heaven-defying alchemy talent," his father roared back. "You call him trash, but have the clan elders agreed?" At that moment, Shen Haofan's younger brother, Shen Hanfan, stepped out of the shadows with a wicked grin. The Spirit Pill Pavilion Master issued a strict ban. No one is allowed to teach Shenxiang the dark arts of alchemy. Without a master, raw talent is nothing but a joke. Suddenly, a chilling aura swept the courtyard as our overpowered main character arrived. Who decided I cannot forge pills? Master or no master, creating divine pills is as easy as breathing. His arrogant enemies burst into mocking laughter. "What a pathetic clown," they sneered. "Forging a pill requires at least a year of brutal foundation building. You just awakened your fire chi a few days ago. Stop spitting such shameless lies." The wicked uncle confidently proposed a deadly wager. If the boy failed, his father must withdraw from the patriarch race forever. But Shen Tianhu stood firm like a mountain. He trusted his son's absolute power. He knew his boy never made empty promises. Without a second thought, Shenxiang ignited his alchemy furnace. A terrifying vortex of crimson fire engulfed him entirely. 1 hour passed, and the crowd's whispers grew venomous. "This brat is just blowing smoke, unless he is a monster born once in a millennium." But our main character wore a sinister smirk. During those 7 days of infinite deaths against the monstrous birds, he had conquered the ultimate demonic alchemy trial. Deep within his mystic ring, 2 supreme goddesses watched in awe. Even the legendary Su Meiyao needed 10 to 15 days for this. Yet this terrifying youth crushed the hellish trial in merely 7 days. His heaven-defying talent was simply monstrous. Boom! An explosive shockwave shattered the tense silence as the pill materialized. Resting in Shenxiang's palm were 5 flawless, glowing medicinal pills. The entire courtyard choked on their own breath. The ancient monsters of the Shen clan instantly realized the truth. These pills radiated an abyssal purity far surpassing the Spirit Pill Pavilion. "Good God!" they gasped. "This level of mastery utterly crushes top-tier spirit veins." Shen Hanfan stood frozen, his face pale as a corpse. "Impossible," he muttered. Shenxiang locked eyes with his uncle, his voice dripping with venom. "I heard a fascinating rumor recently." The main character sneered. "They say Uncle suffers from a crippled manhood, unable to perform as a real man. Why don't you swallow this divine pill and cure your pathetic weakness?" The uncle's face twisted into a demonic mask of pure fury. Veins bulged on his forehead as murderous intent leaked from his soul. Meanwhile, the clan's golden child, 𝒂𝒊𝒂𝒍, felt his supreme status crumbling. Consumed by dark jealousy, he lunged at our main character like a rabid beast. He wanted to crush Shen Xiang today and reclaim his undisputed glory. A terrifying aura erupted from his body as he materialized a massive weapon. He unleashed the devastating heavenly sun cleaving axe. Even Shen Xiang was slightly surprised by the incoming strike. His chi was actually this explosive? Boom! A catastrophic shockwave annihilated the martial arts stage. The dust cleared to reveal an impossible sight. Shen Xiang stood completely unharmed, shrugging off the fatal blow like an immortal undead. His father's eyes narrowed dangerously. The heavenly sun-cleaving axe was a forbidden spirit-tier art. It is exclusively reserved for heroes who bleed for this clan. Who dared to secretly teach him this technique? It was a blatant violation of their sacred laws. Back on the ruined stage, the deadly duel raged on. Catching a microsecond opening, Shen Xiang fired his heavenly dragon fist, but the attack failed to penetrate the enemy's defense, and our hero was knocked backward. His mind raced with terrifying speed. This bastard only cultivates raw chi. His physical body is fragile trash. One clean hit will end him. Suddenly, Su Meiyao's seductive voice echoed in his mind. Little demon, do you remember the warrior's roar back at the pavilion? That split second where your consciousness faded and your soul felt chained? That was a high-level sonic attack. Your divine dragon art contains an even more devastating variation. Follow my instructions perfectly. Trap your chi between your lips and teeth. Channel your abyssal power until it reaches boiling point. Imagine that energy erupting like an apocalyptic landslide. Let it shatter mountains as it explodes from your mouth. The timing was absolute perfection. Shen Xiang unleashed a world-ending azure dragon roar. The earth-shattering frequency paralyzed every single soul in the courtyard. The enemy's brain short-circuited in pure terror. Seizing the moment, Shen Xiang smashed his heavenly dragon fist right into him. One punch utterly annihilated the genius. The dragon's absolute authority forced him to submit. The defeated boy's father rushed in like a madman, blaming our main character for ruthlessly crippling a fellow clan member. How can the Shen clan harbor such a demonic, cold-blooded monster? He screamed. Shen Xiang's eyes glowed with an abyssal chill. Where was your righteous anger when he used a lethal killing strike on me? Sparing the pathetic fool's life was already his maximum mercy. Had it been an outsider, they would already be a rotting corpse. Zhenhua's mother scrambled toward the elders, screaming for our hero's execution. The courtyard instantly dissolved into total chaos. Both factions drew their weapons, ready for a bloodbath. Just as the war was about to start, an arrogant figure descended from above. The Shen clan is nothing but a circus of chaotic monkeys, he mocked. Yet you trash dare to gaze upon our Shui clan's precious young miss? This man hailed from the terrifying Medicine King City. Representing the Yao clan, he delivered a chilling ultimatum to Shen Xiang. Void your marriage contract with Miss Shui Xianxian immediately. Did this arrogant fool really think he had the authority to order him around? My engagement is none of the Yao clan's damn business, Shen Xiang roared. If the Shui clan wants to break it, they can crawl here and say it to my face. The messenger sneered with venomous contempt. The Shui clan believes only our young master Yao Tianhua is worthy of her. Not a worthless speck of dust like you. He is a divine alchemy prodigy. Yet, for some mysterious reason, Xianxian fiercely refused to break the engagement. And so, our main character would rather die infinite deaths than abandon her. The messenger's killing intent flared. If you refuse, you must accept my young master's deathmatch challenge. Shen Xiang's lips curled into a demonic smile. Challenge accepted. Alchemy, martial arts, or pure slaughter. Bring it all on. The crowd felt their souls leave their bodies. Shen Xiang, have you lost your absolute mind? You merely forged a mortal pill. Yao Tianhua possesses 10 agonizing years of bloody alchemy experience. When he crushes you, our Shen clan's honor will be utterly erased. But our overpowered hero didn't care. Instead, he deflected the messenger's previous blade strike right back at him. Enraged by the disrespect, the Yao messenger lunged with murderous intent. His earth-shattering punch forced Shen Xiang to slide backward. Witnessing this, his father erupted like a dormant volcano. A mere Yao clan dog dares to bite within my territory? Do you think the Shen clan is dead? I will slaughter you right here, right now. The overwhelming death aura drained every drop of blood from the messenger's face before he cowardly fled. With the patriarch throne still hanging in the balance, Shen Xiang dove straight into a hellish secret training regime. The 4 symbols divine art, controlling the apocalyptic powers of the azure dragon. white tiger, vermilion bird, and black tortoise. Pushing through a week of brutal resurrection cycles, he mastered the white tiger chi. Its destructive force was catastrophic. Yet, it still couldn't match the absolute tyranny of his azure dragon. Meanwhile, his father unleashed an unstoppable rampage, crushing every single rival in his path. After an eternity of bloodshed, the grand finale had finally arrived. The ultimate battle for the patriarch throne. His father faced the wicked Shen Haofan, who arrogantly challenged him to a brutal one-on-one death match. To crush the whispering crowd, Shen Tianhu unleashed his aura. A suffocating pressure descended, mimicking an undead overlord of the forest. The audience gasped in terror. This was the Phantom Beast manifestation, the legendary signature of the 8th martial realm. On the opposite side, his opponent smirked, summoning a colossal, rotting dire wolf phantom. The two behemoths clashed with devastating force. The shockwaves shattered the earth. Even the main character's father was caught off guard by this dark power. How could this bastard control a phantom beast so perfectly? He had only crossed into the 8th realm mere days ago. Their deathmatch escalated into a blur of absolute carnage. The sheer speed of their strikes defied mortal comprehension. Below the blood-stained arena, spectators trembled before this apocalyptic display of power. The 8th realm was truly a realm of monsters. After one agonizing hour of combat, Shen Tianhu finally seized the advantage. He summoned the apocalyptic Thunder Tiger array, crushing his enemy into the dirt. He claimed victory, but the cost was brutally steep. Dark blood poured from his grievous. Meanwhile, the enemy's younger brother stood completely unharmed. He mockingly advised the bleeding champion to surrender his life. But a father's will is absolute. For the sake of his son, he would gladly crawl through hell itself. Stepping from the shadows, our main character finally made his entrance. He steadied his wounded father, praising his legendary battle. "Rest now, father. I will handle the slaughter from here." Turning his piercing gaze toward the elders, he demanded to take the stage. The dark elders coldly agreed to the substitution. The arrogant opponent sneered at the seemingly weak boy, offering him one free strike out of pure pity. "Come, little lamb, show me your best." Currently, the main character masqueraded his power at the 5th realm, yet his opponent stood high in the 7th realm. Suddenly, a chilling sensation crept down the enemy's spine. The boy's aura felt like the gaping abyss. The main character lunged, unleashing a devastating explosive death fist. The catastrophic impact left the crowd paralyzed with dread. Somehow, this weakling had generated the destructive force of a 6th realm master. But fate is cruel. The demonic strike failed to shatter the enemy's heavenly protection barrier. The boy clicked his tongue. That attack had consumed all of his abyssal dragon energy. Seeing the boy falter, the arrogant enemy laughed wildly. It was time to reveal true despair, unleashing a monstrous surge of lethal aura. The dark energy materialized into a colossal, skeletal thunderbird. This monster had secretly reached the absolute peak of the 7th realm. He was inches away from breaking through, allowing him to prematurely awaken his phantom beast traits. With a maddened screech, the skeletal bird rained down a storm of destruction. The main character was forced into a desperate retreat. He needed to buy time to trigger his immortal resurrection skills, but his pursuer was relentlessly fast. The old bastard closed the gap in a heartbeat, moving like a shadow of death. But our overpowered protagonist possessed a body forged by infinite resurrections. A normal man would have been reduced to ash by that lethal ambush. Brushing off the catastrophic damage, he smirked with eerie confidence. "Did you really think I was just a mortal?" He practically danced away from the fatal blows. Inside his soul space, the dark wraith queen, Bai Yu, rolled her eyes at his cockiness. Still, their souls were bound by a blood pact, forcing her to care about this undead freak. Smug, he opened his void inventory to reveal a legendary artifact. Behold, the Hellfire Soul Mushroom. He had steeped it in demonic abyss wine. "Drink this, my queens. It will restore your spectral forms." Swallowing the dark liquid, the ancient spirits shivered in ecstasy. Truly a miraculous heaven-defying treasure. Just a single cup reconstructed a fraction of their shattered immortal bodies. Seeing the incredible result, the main character eagerly reached to brew the remaining half, but a cold, ethereal hand instantly grabbed his wrist. "Bai Yu glared at him. "Fool, save this demonic essence for your own vessel," she hissed. "The Hellfire Mushroom is an ultimate treasure of the mortal realms, but for primordial entities like us, its necrotic energy is merely a drop in the ocean. The effect is too weak to fully revive us. You must evolve quickly, little monster." Only when you break into the true martial abyss can you truly unseal your big sisters. Her words were stern. But then, the potent, demonic wine suddenly went to her spectral head. She aggressively pinned the main character to the floor. The terrifying Wraith Queen was actually dead drunk from one cup. Looking into her dangerously flushed face, his immortality system blared warning sirens. A drunk ancient entity was a catastrophic threat. With a single casual kick, she cleaved his iron bed completely in half, towering over him with a terrifying smile. She dragged him by the collar, forcing the overpowered protagonist to become her personal servant. He was totally screwed. She unleashed a barrage of frenzied attacks. But she had no idea. Every clash only fueled Shen Xiang's dark vermilion bird aura. Driven to absolute desperation, she summoned her ultimate technique, the Lone Star Demon Slayer. A devastating explosion shattered the arena. To any normal person, it was an instant death sentence. But as the smoke cleared, a colossal pair of blazing wings erupted from his back. "That kick of yours was truly monstrous," he smirked. "One drop of true energy, and I would have been visiting the underworld." The crowd gasped in pure terror. Those were the legendary vermilion bird fire wings. He had casually awakened this ancient power after just 2 days of brutal training with 𝑦𝒂𝒕𝒉. "I was just looking for an excuse to show off," he laughed darkly. Later, outside the imposing walls of Crouching Dragon City, Shen Xiang was pushing his demonic wings to their absolute limits. Suddenly, the scent of blood caught his attention. Members of the Shui family were locked in a desperate deathmatch against a horde of ruthless bandits, but it was a one-sided slaughter. They were hopelessly outmatched against the savage attackers. Just as the final blow was about to fall, Shen Xiang descended like a god of death. With a bone-crushing kick, he shattered the bandit leader's jaw. The enraged boss screamed for his 500 goons. "He is only at the 6th realm! Tear him to pieces!" But they had just triggered a nightmare. Shen Xiang's aura exploded into an overwhelming abyss of pressure. "Perfect timing," he whispered coldly. "Let us test the White Tiger Whip." With a single, devastating lash, reality seemed to tear apart. Only blood-curdling screams echoed through the forest. The bandit boss attempted a cowardly sneak attack. Big mistake. Shen Xiang whipped him into a scorched, unrecognizable mess. Terrified out of his mind, the pathetic boss crawled away for his life. The surviving disciples of the Shui family dropped to their knees, weeping with gratitude. But Shen Xiang's eyes narrowed. There was something unnaturally sinister about these thugs. From the second our blows collided, I could feel it. That leader possessed the raw power of the 6th realm, he calculated. "Tell me, how many 6th realm experts in the entire southern martial empire would lower themselves to robbing dirt roads? Something far darker was pulling the strings. Their true, twisted motives remained shrouded in mystery. Regardless, the immediate threat had been eradicated. The 2 Shui survivors kept showering him with absolute reverence. It was enough to inflate our overpowered protagonist's ego. "Keep talking," he smirked. "I already know I am flawlessly handsome." "Brother Shen, you have no idea," they gossiped. "That arrogant Yao Tianhua is nothing but a frail, weak-boned weakling. When he was a brat, people constantly mistook him for a little girl. And now, this pathetic trash dares to demand our goddess Xian in marriage? A filthy toad lusting after heavenly swan meat, but fate has a wicked sense of humor." In that exact moment, the Yao family's convoy blocked their path. Without warning, lethal hidden weapons shot from the luxurious carriage. Shen Xiang did not even flinch. He caught the deadly projectiles with 2 fingers. An arrogant voice boomed from the shadows. "You 3 peasants, state your miserable names immediately, or prepare to face a gruesome death." Flexing on the main character? A fatal error. Shen Xiang unleashed his deafening lion's roar. "Who the hell are you to bark orders in Crouching Tiger City?" The overwhelming sonic blast forced the coward out of his carriage. It was Yao Tianhua himself. Shen Xiang instantly mocked his pathetic stance. "Young Master Yao looks a bit too fragile for the outside world. You even need your little maids to help you off your carriage?" The sheer disrespect hit like a physical blow. Hearing the Shui disciples dying of laughter, Tianhua's face twisted in demonic rage. He was practically coughing up blood from humiliation. "Are you begging for an early grave?" he roared. Shen Xiang just yawned. "Bullying the weak is beneath my Shen family." "Oh, wait, my apologies, Miss Yao. I mean young Master Yao. Please calm down." Driven into a psychotic frenzy, Tianhua finally snapped and attacked. Blazing true, energy materialized into an oppressive astral aura. "So, This spoiled brat was also at the 6th heavenly realm, but against Shen Xiang's monstrous foundation, this trash-tier attack was practically a light breeze. However, lurking deep inside the carriage, an ancient aura locked onto him. A treacherous sneak attack erupted from the shadows. Shen Xiang was violently blasted backward. An old phantom stepped out into the light. It was the infamous 7th elder of the Yao clan. He glared down at Shen Xiang, declaring that cowardly strike was merely a warning. The two Shui disciples exploded in righteous fury. The Yao family is utterly spineless. A 2-on-1 ambush from the shadows. And you ancient fools still dare to act superior? But the corrupt elder ignored their outrage. They had come to deliver a blood-soaked ultimatum. The deathmatch was set. In exactly 10 days, they would settle this at the execution trial grounds. Shen Xiang's eyes gleamed with a predatory darkness. Tired of their arrogant posturing, he prepared to. A devastating shockwave obliterated the carriage into absolute dust. 7th Elder, consider this a polite return for our little chat. A sonic howl? Did this arrogant fool truly believe he was the only one who mastered such a deadly art? Now, the old man was about to face true despair. The frustration was boiling over, but his hands were tied. The moment he stepped through his front door, a familiar figure crashed into him. It was Xian Xian, wrapping him in a hug so tight it could shatter his ribs. She had heard the rumors. News of his impending deathmatch with the arrogant Yao Tianhua had spread. She came to be his personal cheerleader, and honestly, the main character was loving every second of this embrace. But then, a chilling shift in the atmosphere. Her keen senses picked up an unfamiliar scent. Her sweet gaze instantly morphed into the deadly glare of an apex predator. She cornered him, demanding to know if he had been hiding some secret lover behind her back. After sweating through her intense interrogation, she finally dropped a massive bombshell. An elite senior expert from a legendary martial arts sect had requested a private audience with him. The catch? He had to crush Yao Tianhua into the dirt first. Brimming with absolute alpha confidence, he pulled her back into his arms. He promised her that the pampered alchemist boy wouldn't even survive a single punch, let alone a full-powered kick. Satisfied, the girl skipped away to congratulate his father on his recent ascension to the clan patriarch throne. But reality quickly set in. In pure physical combat, that arrogant young master was nothing but a stepping stone. However, the upcoming duel was an alchemy battle, and in the art of pill refining, his enemy had decades of generational knowledge. Facing this massive gap, our protagonist retreated into the shadows. He forcefully opened his spiritual divine realm to begin a hellish training regime. The mesmerizing demoness inside his ring, Su Meiyao, issued a grim warning. Attempting the 2nd trial level at his current stage was absolute suicide. His mortal flesh would be instantly incinerated. But with the clock ticking relentlessly, this suicidal path was the only key to forcefully evolving his alchemy skills. He threw caution to the wind and triggered the trial. Instantly, a monstrous primordial energy erupted from the void, launching a devastating assault right at his fragile body. He gritted his teeth, channeling every ounce of his aura just to survive the initial shockwave. As the smoke cleared, a colossal, blazing mountain range materialized. It was forged by the mythical 𝒂𝒊𝒔𝒕𝒊𝒂𝒍 bird. The objective for this hellish 2nd trial? Obliterate the heavenly flame mountain with his bare hands. Smashing a boulder is child's play, but shattering a divine peak? That was sheer madness. Refusing to back down, he ignited his true fire aura. He unleashed a devastating, earth-shattering punch straight into the rocky cliff face. But the results were absolutely pathetic. The towering inferno didn't even leave a scratch. Instead, the terrifying rebound heat nearly roasted his flesh down to the bone. Gasping for breath after this humiliating defeat, he swallowed his pride and begged for guidance. The dark beauty sighed at his foolishness. The entire peak was shielded by the immortal flames of the mythical beast. Until that primordial fire was neutralized, brute force meant absolutely nothing. She revealed the terrifying, hidden truth of this trial. Hidden at the summit was a pool of absolute destruction, the very source of the 𝒂𝒊𝒔's power. The path to victory was sheer, unadulterated agony. He had to dive into that boiling magma, using his mortal flesh as a sponge to devour the divine flames. Only by assimilating this apocalyptic heat would his fists carry enough authority to shatter the mountain. But the survival rate was 0. His fragile human shell would likely melt long before he absorbed a single drop. Yet, our unyielding protagonist possessed a terrifying disregard for his own life. Ignoring the frantic screams of the demonic beauties, he plummeted straight into the apocalyptic lava. The ice-cold sovereign, Bai Yu Yu, desperately unleashed her frost aura to shield his melting skin. But reduced to a mere phantom, her icy protection was failing fast. The agonizing heat was melting him from the inside out. But an unbreakable will anchored his soul. He had made a sacred vow to his beloved. He would rather burn in hell than let a pathetic worm like 𝑦𝒂𝒕𝒉 claim her. Plunged deep within the inferno, blood-curdling screams echoed through the void. Days bled into nights, and the suffocating silence that followed struck terror into the hearts of his spectral guardians. Was he dead? Had he turned to ash? Suddenly, a monstrous dark energy erupted. Against all laws of nature, he had devoured the entire reservoir of mythical flames in just 7 agonizing days. But the price was catastrophic. His spiritual meridians were shattered, and his flesh was burned beyond recognition. Surviving this ordeal was a miracle in itself. With his body teetering on the brink of collapse, could he even stand, let alone fight? Without a word, he flicked his scorched wrist. Crack! The indestructible divine mountain instantly crumbled into fine dust. The trial was conquered, but his broken shell finally gave out, plunging him into darkness. 10 agonizing days passed. Judgment Day had arrived. The arena was packed for the blood-feud duel, but the main character's seat remained empty. The clan patriarch, sweating under the mocking gazes, desperately tried to diffuse the rising tension. He explained his son had entered a closed-door meditation and had vanished into the mountains without a trace. But the enemy clan wasn't having it. Arrogant sneers and insults poisoned the air. The peanut gallery declared him a spineless coward, claiming he had fled in terror from the alchemist prodigy. If the trash is too scared to die, he should just crawl here and beg. The rival elders mocked the falling prestige of his clan. But before the laughter could peak, a chilling voice sliced through the arena. Whose rabid dog broke off its leash to bark so loudly in my territory? He emerged from the shadows, radiating a terrifying, suffocating aura. Internally, he breathed a sigh of relief. If those 2 supreme goddesses hadn't sacrificed their energy to patch up his shattered core, he would have been a no-show. 3 days prior, they had dragged his half-dead corpse to the forbidden immortal demon pond. The abyssal death aura of those cursed waters was the only force dark enough to suppress the raging mythical flames, destroying him from the inside. Fast forward to the alchemy showdown. He produced a pill radiating an aura far beyond the mortal realm. The entire stadium erupted in absolute hysteria. A 16-year-old punk, successfully forging a mid-grade spiritual elixir? The crowd stared in sheer cosmic dread. Was he human, or a reincarnated god? His clan members exploded into deafening roars of victory. The years of humiliation were instantly washed away. The outcome of this legendary clash was etched in stone. The ultimate victor, standing at the absolute apex of the arena, was the monstrous prodigy of their very own bloodline. But the drama was far from over. As our overpowered protagonist demanded his rightful spoils of war, the humiliated losers shamelessly refused to pay up. Watching his clan's fortunes slip away, the treacherous 7th Elder resorted to dirty tactics. He sent a telepathic kill order to his defeated disciple. It was a cowardly, lethal ambush. The sore loser activated a phantom tier movement technique, aiming a fatal strike right at our hero's blind spot. But to a reincarnated monster who survived the fires of hell, this attack was moving in pathetic slow motion. Our boy didn't even flinch, his eyes filled with absolute boredom. With a casual, almost lazy flick of his wrist, he slammed the pathetic sneak attacker face first into the concrete. He stood over the bleeding trash, mocking his ultimate legacy technique. Is this the legendary footwork of your mighty clan? It's full of more holes than a piece of rotten cheese. Without granting him a second to breathe, dark energy spiraled around his fist. He unleashed an explosive annihilation punch, sending the young master flying across the arena like a broken rag doll. The impact shattered the stone floor. The treacherous elder choked on his own rage, completely paralyzed. You cowards strike from the shadows, and now you refuse to honor your sacred bets? The protagonist's killing intent locked onto the shivering old man. If you want to play a game of shameless blood and slaughter, I will happily exterminate your entire bloodline right here. Driven completely mad by the public humiliation, the decaying elder prepared to storm the bloody stage. But the once docile members of our hero's clan finally bared their fangs. They immediately blocked the old dog's path, unleashing a terrifying, unified killing aura of their own. The internal political decay was gone. Under the absolute strength of their young master, the clan was united in pure, unadulterated iron will. One of the senior uncles even stepped forward, ready to slaughter the rival elder on the patriarch's behalf. Our protagonist had single-handedly become their god of war. Just as blood was about to be spilled, a breathtaking silhouette drifted down from the stands. It was his fiancée. With absolute blind faith in her man, she told the furious clan to stand down. To her, letting her beloved crush a high-tier elder was nothing more than an entertaining warm-up. The old bastard charged, only to be met with a devastating 100-slaughter fist. The impact caved in his chest, forcing the haughty elder to bite the arena dirt. Standing over his broken prey, our hero smirked. "Get up, you fragile old fossil. I've got 30 more fists with your name on them." Before he could deliver the fatal blow, his beautiful girl intervened. Shockingly, she handed the bleeding elder a high-grade healing potion. Our ruthless protagonist was completely baffled. But then, a sadistic smile crept onto her flawless face. If he heals, you can beat him half to death all over again, right? His future wife was an absolute savage. The crippled elder stared at the healing pill in absolute, trembling horror. He looked up to see the young power couple staring down at him with eyes full of demonic cruelty. What followed was a beautifully orchestrated symphony of violence. The arena echoed with the rhythmic, agonizing screams of a shattered ego. Coughing up mouthfuls of black blood, the ruined elder shrieked his final, desperate curse. "We will annihilate you, I swear on my soul. Your cursed clan will never purchase a single medicinal pill from our monopoly ever again." "Oh no. Whatever shall we do?" The protagonist mocked, overflowing with dark amusement. He was literally a walking god of alchemy. Basic pills were just garbage to him. After dumping the trash, he finally turned his attention back to the celestial maiden. He asked about that mysterious, legendary senior. Before she could utter a single word, the very fabric of space seemed to violently tear open. An entity of unimaginable cosmic dread descended upon the arena. A gravitational force ripped through the air, violently forcing his knees to buckle against his will. Floating above them was a goddess of absolute destruction. Her voice echoed like thunder from the heavens. "Any mortal crawling beneath the 9th awakening realm shall bow before my divine sovereignty, defy my absolute decree, and watch your internal organs be instantly reduced to a bloody paste." Panic seized his fiancée's heart. She dropped to her knees, screaming for her master to show mercy. But the arrogant overlord silenced her with a single glance. Our protagonist's eyes glowed with pure, unadulterated madness. He only bows to the heavens, his parents, and maybe his future wives in the bedroom. Surrender to some tyrannical goddess? Never in a million lifetimes. A torrential wave of pitch-black demonic aura exploded from his spine. Tapping into his near-death reserves, he violently shattered the spatial suppression binding him. The goddess's cold eyes widened in shock. The lethal tension instantly vanished into thin air. It was nothing but a sick, twisted power test to gauge the limits of his soul. Standing on the sidelines, the celestial maiden puffed her cheeks in adorable fury. "You lied to me, master. You promised you wouldn't bully my future husband." After calming down her frantic disciple, the towering powerhouse finally revealed the terrifying truth. His beloved had shattered the entry trials for the continent's most supreme martial arts faction. The goddess had descended upon this mortal realm for one reason only. It was time to take her to a higher world, the 9th level of the mortal martial realm. With her monstrous talent, she would break through to the true martial realm in less than 6 months. Our precious Xianxian was evolving faster than anyone could comprehend. She was ascending to become an untouchable existence in this dark world. Training under such an ancient master was her destined fortune. I could only bow and request that this senior protect her from the shadows. But this arrival was also a bitter farewell. She finally felt at peace leaving me behind, and her master had sanctioned our parting. My only path to seeing her again was surviving the bloodbath to reach the 9th level and entering the inner sect. Only then could our intertwined fates reconnect. A swirling portal tore through the void, pulling her toward the divine weapon, Heavenly Kingdom. Watching her fading silhouette, a grim realization settled in my bones. The chasm between our power levels was as deep as the abyss. I had to become an unstoppable monster. But first, I needed to conquer a brutal reality. The Shen clan was bleeding dry, reduced to mere scraps of wealth. The rival Yao clan had severed our medicinal supply lines like a fatal throat slice. Without resources, our younger generation would wither and die in this unforgiving world. Suddenly, the pavilion master of the Spirit Pill Pavilion stepped from the shadows. The revelation hit like a hammer. This man was my father's uncle. His arrogant demeanor had earned him a brutal beating from my father in the past. Years ago, he and my grandfather had waged a bloody war. They tore each other apart for the throne of the clan patriarch. Defeated and consumed by wrath, he abandoned the Shen family. But his revenge did not stop there. He deliberately blockaded our path to power. He forbade all alchemists from teaching me the ancient arts. The venom of his lingering hatred for our clan still poisoned his every move. Suddenly, a commotion erupted outside. A noble claimed our pavilion guards shattered his leg, demanding our family business as compensation. This was a textbook extortion tactic, a pathetic noble using his dark authority to crush the weak. I refused to watch this sickening display of fake suffering. With a flick of my wrist, a stone shot out like a bullet, striking his supposedly broken leg. He shrieked in agony and instantly leaped to his feet. I smirked coldly. For a crippled third young master, you stand quite tall and mighty. It seems a miracle has cured your crippled bones. Realizing he had been played for a fool, his eyes burned with murderous fury. You dare ambush me in the shadows? Guards, slaughter this insolent rat. I didn't even flinch. Instead, I unleashed a terrifying, death-like aura that froze his soldiers in their tracks. It seems your dogs have better survival instincts than their master. They can smell the scent of the Grim Reaper. My overwhelming pressure made it crystal clear. Charging at me meant stepping into an early grave. They dared not throw their lives away against an untouchable force. Humiliated and enraged, Hua Hong erupted with his own pathetic power. He unleashed the falling rain shocking thunder technique, dancing around like a clown. 3 flashy, useless moves. Before he could blink, my hand clamped around his throat like a vice of death. You dare smash my territory? Prepare for a one-way ticket to hell. His face drained of all blood. Trembling, he invoked his city lord father's terrifying name to beg for mercy. I answered by smashing my palm across his arrogant face. My own father never dared to strike me, he wailed. You lowly peasant, kneel and beg for your pathetic life. Grovel, and the Hua clan might let you keep your limbs. Before his empty threats could finish, my fist crushed his jaw again. His face swelled into a grotesque, bruised mess. Then, I spoke with the icy authority of a dark sovereign. The Hua clan of the royal city possesses the legendary firmament Thunder Rain. Even an outsider like me knows of its devastating power. Yet you, a supposed heir, can only use this trash-tier lightning art. The son of the city lord, reduced to managing a mere medicinal shop? You are already a discarded pawn in your father's grand chessboard. And yet, you have the audacity to strut around acting like a god? You come here looking for death. Do you really think the great Hua clan will avenge a piece of trash? Will they risk a blood feud with 2 master alchemists for a discarded failure like you? Now get out of my sight before I bury you. The arrogant young master broke down, sobbing and clinging to my boots like a pathetic infant. His dignity was entirely shattered. Right then, my grandfather transmitted a grim warning. The heavy infantry of the Hua clan was marching toward us. They were using this sniveling fool as an excuse to obliterate our pavilion. As 2 colossal factions, direct warfare was usually forbidden. I walked toward the trembling third young master with slow, predatory steps. He flinched, terrified that I was going to snap his neck. But instead, my voice dropped to a sinister, knowing whisper. I told him I knew exactly how it felt to rot in the abyss, to be treated like a diseased dog by your own bloodline, to be the laughingstock of the world. I survived the darkness only because my father anchored my soul. I crawled back from hell and rewrote my own twisted destiny. Do you want to forge a dark pact with me? Together, we can burn that trash label to ashes. No one wants to die a worthless shadow. In an instant, his despair morphed into fanatic loyalty, calling me his sworn brother. Outside, the earth shook as the city lord's armored legion arrived. Their killing intent suffocated the air. Hua Chenyu, the young city lord, barked the order to massacre us all. Inside the luxurious carriage sat the mysterious lord of the Dangxiang Medicine Manor. Before the soldiers could strike, I unleashed a draconic shockwave, sending them flying like broken dolls. The young city lord's eyes burned with demonic fury at the sight. He wildly accused me of mutilating his brother and slaughtering his royal guards. He demanded to know my crime. Crime? What absolute garbage. Your dogs trespassed on my domain with intent to destroy. You sought to shatter my pavilion to dust. Your brainless lackeys couldn't tell life from death, charging blindly to shackle me. Unable to contain his explosive wrath, he launched himself at me like a beast. I lunged forward, eager for the bloodletting. Suddenly, he vanished into thin air like an assassin of the night. He materialized above me, bringing down a massive warhammer with apocalyptic force. This was the true nightmare. The legendary firmament Thunder Rain. I summoned my Vajra White Tiger True Chi to form an absolute defense, but his devastating lightning pool shattered my barrier like fragile glass. The arrogant prince thought I barely survived his lethal strike by sheer luck. He unleashed a relentless, maddening barrage of thunder. But what the fool didn't realize was that my demonic eyes had already analyzed his technique. I saw the fatal delay between his lightning bursts. The moment of death had arrived. With a single, godlike punch, I blasted his body across the courtyard. Only then did the manor lord step out from her carriage to halt the slaughter. She appeared as a gentle beauty, radiating a soft yet overwhelming authority. Her intent was to forge a truce between our warring factions. Surprisingly, she already knew my name. The tale of my brutal victory over the Yao clan had spread like a plague. The entire royal city whispered of the invincible young hero. That pathetic Yao Tianhua had lost both his dignity and his life's battle against me. Such a devastating defeat was actively poisoning their clan's business empire. Hua Yuyun clearly understood my lethal feud with the Yao family. Was this elegant mastermind subtly trying to recruit my terrifying potential for her own faction? She tossed over a massive fortune without batting an eye, masking it as mere pocket change. This woman played the game of power with terrifying generosity. The third young master serves as my manager, she declared smoothly. His sins are the sins of the Dangxiang medicine manor. Consider this treasure a blood offering to wash away his offense. Suddenly, my grandfather stepped into the fray. You think you can manipulate us so easily, little girl? Step back, kid. Let an old monster show you how the game is truly played. I expected a display of ancient power. Instead, the shameless old man waltzed over and started aggressively flirting with her. So young, yet so magnificently capable. No wonder you rule the manor, he purred. Her elegant smile twitched with barely contained murderous intent. This lecherous fossil was pushing her patience to the absolute limit. I could see her desperately resisting the urge to slice him into 1,000 bloody pieces. I stood there, utterly paralyzed by second-hand embarrassment. Was this the wisdom of age, or just weaponized perversion? Predictably, the manor lord covertly struck him with a silent, paralyzing curse. The young city lord interrupted, his voice dripping with venom. You crippled my brother, he hissed. You don't get to just walk away with a payout. From the shadows, the battered younger brother peeked out, desperate to explain. A foolish spark of hope lit his eyes, thinking his family still cared, but his older brother's next words shattered his soul. Shut up, you useless piece of trash! You are nothing but a defective ornament. An ornament that can't even sit quietly without dragging our proud name through the mud. Hearing his absolute worthlessness confirmed, the last embers of light died in Hua Hong's eyes forever. Even his own flesh and blood treated him like absolute trash. But this humiliated third young master came crawling back. He shamelessly flaunted our main character's pills, praising their godlike effects. Not only did it heal my ripped flesh, he gloated. It completely cured my long-standing impotence. Reborn with explosive vitality, he immediately started throwing his wealth around. He ordered the entire mountain pavilion on lockdown. Tell the ladies to prepare. Today, this young master is booking the whole place. He even mocked his older brother, asking if he wanted to tag along. This petty taunt sent his brother into a murderous rage. But this was our hero's grand design all along. Manipulating the arrogant third young master was step one, though the fool was completely useless. His noble status made him the perfect walking advertisement. Now, the entire city feared their shop's potential. The very next day, deep within the shadows of the royal mountains, the main character relaxed with two demonic beauties. Hanging out inside his dimensional storage ring was getting dull. So, he activated the forbidden dragon saliva art. Dark, vital energy surged forth, force-feeding life into his medicinal herbs. With this terrifying, unstoppable growth rate, a 1,000-year spirit fruit would ripen in mere months. But suddenly, the air violently cracked. A massive battle axe hurtled straight toward his head. A group of thugs roared, claiming they found these divine herbs first. A classic ambush. But they had provoked a monster in human skin. The two beauties coldly ordered him to teach them a brutal lesson. Go easy on them, they purred. Just shatter their bones so we do not have to see blood. The bandit leader smirked. Do you have any idea who we are? Our overpowered hero did not care. Even if the gods descended, he would still slaughter them. The bandit charged with a frenzied, suicidal speed, but he was instantly crushed into the dirt like a pathetic insect. Looking down, the hero recognized this face. It was the same fake bandit from the outer mountains 2 months ago. The scum stubbornly denied his identity. So, the main character summoned his legendary white tiger whip. The air shrieked as brutal lashes rained down. Agonizing screams echoed as the thug was beaten half to death. Finally, his shattered memory clicked. "You are the Shen family's young master." Coughing blood, he confessed. "I am 𝒂𝒊𝒂𝒍. We work for Uncle Hai. The Wei clan supplies herbs to the Yao family. The Yao family's 7th elder ordered us to do this." Hearing this, a reaper-like, bone-chilling smile crept across our hero's face. "Is that so? Then I will settle old debts and new grudges together. Starting with your worthless lives." The bandits sobbed, begging for a second chance at life. They swore they were forced, offering to betray their masters in exchange for mercy. They revealed the enemy's exact coordinates. The target was heading to the eastern Peace City. Armed with this intel, our hero ambushed them like a phantom of death. With one devastating crack of the white tiger whip, he obliterated their luxury carriage into splinters. Inside sat the treacherous Yao Tianhua and the 7th elder. A suffocating silver aura erupted from the main character, freezing their blood. In a desperate panic, the old elder swallowed a forbidden pill. He forcefully mutated his own body for a burst of demonic power. Shameless to the very end, bulging with grotesque veiny muscles, the elder and his young master launched a mad, coordinated assault. A massive explosion rocked the earth. They laughed, thinking they had ground him into fine dust. But death had rejected him long ago. Emerging from the smoke completely unharmed, our hero raised his whip. "My turn." A single, heaven-shaking strike instantly bound them both. With absolutely no hesitation, he dragged their souls straight to the dark abyss. Meanwhile, the surrendered bandit leader officially became his immortal shadow servant. Now, only the two of them knew the true bloody fate of the Yao clan's carriage. A flawless, untraceable annihilation. Returning home, he immediately summoned his grandfather to a secret meeting. He claimed he had a legendary treasure to share. Opening a small wooden box, blinding golden light flooded the room. A 1,000-year golden spirit fruit. The old man's jaw hit the floor, eyes wide with absolute madness. This was a mythical artifact every alchemist would kill for. "Grandfather, wipe your drool," our hero chuckled. Shaking with excitement, the old man demanded to know its origin. Naturally, the dark truth had to remain hidden. He could not expose the demonic beauties or his forbidden arts. So, he spun a lie about stumbling upon it in a deadly forest. "Our new alchemy pavilion has just been established," he declared. "I will use this supreme treasure to recruit an unstoppable army. We will expand our empire of power, using this legendary fruit as bait. Every elite alchemist in the southern martial nation would definitely take the hook." As expected, the news caused a massive shockwave. Countless grandmasters swarmed their gates. But suddenly, an arrogant voice shattered the excitement. An intruder aggressively demanded they change their pavilion's name. Our hero stepped out to face the fool. "You can eat garbage, but do not spout it," he warned. "Tread carefully, or I will send you to the grave." The old man scoffed, revealing his terrifying identity. He was the legendary Pill King. The revelation stunned the entire courtyard. But our hero merely narrowed his eyes. The geezer was holding the profound sun pill furnace, a world-renowned 𝒂𝒊𝒂𝒍 divine artifact. Deep within his soul, the shadow beauty sneered at the pathetic display. "That trash dares call himself a king?" she whispered. "Even you can crush him in your sleep. Claim that artifact." Hearing this dark encouragement, our hero's eyes locked onto the supreme treasure. He loudly challenged the so-called king to a deathmatch of alchemy. If the hero lost, he would smash his own sign and hand over the golden spirit fruit. But if the old man fell, that 𝒂𝒊𝒂𝒍 furnace would forcefully change masters. To ensure absolute fairness, the old man sneered. "We will duel inside my personal furnace." The terms were set in stone. The elder smirked, plotting a venomous trap. There was definitely dark magic at play here. "Listen well, brat. This is how true grandmasters wage war." Instantly, both their souls were violently dragged into a terrifying mental battlefield. They had injected their true fire directly into the artifact. From this moment on, this is no longer a simple test of pill-making. This is a brutal, to-the-death battle of spiritual domination. We will clash using our true fire soul beasts. The dimensional space erupted in dark flames as the elder manifested a swarm of demonic fire bats. They screeched, dripping with concentrated spiritual malice. The arrogant old fool even offered a 3-point handicap, fearing the world would say he bullied a weakling. Our hero's response? He summoned the apocalyptic vermilion bird, True Fire. A godlike, destructive aura incinerated the atmosphere. The old man's confident grin instantly morphed into pure terror. "Impossible! How many hellish trials have you survived at your age to forge such a monstrous, immortal flame? Panicking, the elder abandoned all restraint. He unleashed his absolute peak power. The vermilion bird shrieked, firing 3 colossal meteors of doom. But the elder's defensive array somehow absorbed the blast. Counterattacking, he commanded an endless swarm of shadow bats to violently shred the holy bird. In this realm, if your soul beast bleeds, your very foundation cracks. The overpowered hero was actually facing a wall. He could not pierce the elder's unbreakable defense. The giant bird's speed was far too sluggish. It could not crush the agile, demonic bats. Every brutal clash sent devastating shockwaves violently tearing through our hero's mental sea. The psychic damage was catastrophic. One wrong move, and his path of alchemy would be crippled forever. "Surrender now, brat, before your soul shatters," the elder mocked. But right on the edge of the abyss, the dark beauty spoke. She reminded him of his very first brutal lesson. "Fracture your power." The massive bird could split into a flock of deadly, blindingly fast phantoms. This would render the heavy bat strikes completely useless. Desperate to end it, the old man triggered his ultimate kill move. The demonic bats fused into a massive, suffocating net of purple lightning. He sought a one-hit obliteration, but in a split second, the hero shattered his beast into dozens of lethal embers. They danced through the death net and furiously bombarded the bats. The old man violently coughed up blood. Shrunken down, the firebirds possessed an ungodly, unstoppable speed. They easily outmaneuvered the enemy's shadow forces. The real bloodbath had finally begun. The spiritual realm quaked as both sides fought like cornered demons. Pushed to his limit, our hero could only sustain 3 firebirds, while the vile elder still commanded 5. Both warriors were bleeding from their very souls. Suddenly, an ancient realization struck the main character. His flames resonated perfectly with the vermilion bird's apocalyptic true chi. It was time to gamble his life. He unleashed the forbidden vermilion bird, divine art, hellfire wind. 3 titanic sun-like spheres materialized in the void. He was betting absolutely everything on this final devastating strike. Seeing this world-ending threat, the old man braced for impact. A devastating shockwave shattered the arena. The boy was thrown back, while the old master stood perfectly still. But looks can be deceiving. The ultimate loser was actually the elder. The main character's pill was absolutely flawless. 0 impurities. Pure perfection. The old man bowed his head in total defeat. "I submit to your monstrous talent." The legendary Black Sun Cauldron finally changed hands. The elder confessed his fatal flaw. He had relied too much on this ancient relic to carry his skills. Now, the artifact had found a much more terrifying master. Seizing the moment, our overpowered protagonist made his move. He offered the defeated master the highest position in his own rising guild. He even threw in a priceless golden spirit fruit as a demonic bribe. The guild leader quickly chimed in. "With a legend like you joining our ranks, our guild will become an unstoppable force." The old master agreed without hesitation. The crowd went absolutely wild. Suddenly, every martial artist in the city begged to join his faction. They did not care if they had to be lowly servants, but our main character was playing a ruthless game of chess. He handed all recruitment power to the newly appointed elder. Just then, a messenger rushed onto the scene in a panic. A luxurious carriage from the legendary Fragrant Pill Manor awaited outside. They were rolling out the red carpet for him. Exactly 7 days later, he arrived at their majestic, blood-red gates. His spectral master whispered from the void. This manor was backed by one of the 8 great sects. These ancient factions controlled absolute power. They hoarded mountains of resources and elite warriors. Every mortal warrior dreamed of bleeding for a chance to join them. But our immortal protagonist noticed something else. The ghost girl's energy was unusually erratic and flushed today. She gasped, praising how massive and scorching his new weapon was. The pure demonic heat had completely drained her phantom body. "Hold up! She was talking about his new alchemy cauldron. Get your minds out of the gutter!" The other dark spirit had to unleash absolute yin aura just to survive the heat. That is why only the older sister took spiritual damage. To recover, she shamelessly demanded a full-body spiritual massage. This ancient spirit was playing a dangerous, seductive game. What mortal man could resist this lethal temptation? She even ruthlessly pinched him with her toes. Through the pain, she delivered a deadly serious warning. "Your destiny lies with the Supreme Martial Sect. Do not let that vixen bewitch your soul. Keep your eyes up, and your dark thoughts in check." Meanwhile, the beautiful manor master had prepared a lavish trap for our hero. Seeing is nothing compared to touching. Why don't you feel it for yourself, young master? Her venomous whispers nearly made his blood boil. But our main character had died countless times. He wouldn't fall for a mere succubus's trap. Besides, his fierce wives were waiting at home. They were actually discussing his recruitment. The prestigious pill fragrance sect offered him an inner disciple spot. Yet, he rejected their heavenly offer without hesitation. Instead, he chose the grueling path of the supreme martial sect, all because of a whispered guidance from the shadows. The seductress gasped in pure shock. The supreme martial sect? It was the most brutal meat grinder of an academy, the absolute apex predator among the 8 great sects. Undeterred, she leaned in closer, shifting her strategy to pure temptation. If you survive and become a core disciple, this servant's body and soul will belong entirely to you. She purred with deadly charm. At worst, I would gladly serve as your concubine. After all, I am no sheltered noble lady. I won't just sit and weep like some fragile princess. Facing this world-class temptation, a normal man's soul would have crumbled, but he just stared back with eyes as cold as the grave. He mercilessly rejected her. Madame Hua is quite skilled at this game. I wonder how many geniuses have already fallen victim to your deadly web? She merely smirked. If young Master Shen ever changes his mind, my door is always open. Ignoring her flirtations, he reached into his spatial void. He pulled out a legendary treasure, a 1,000-year-old blood demon mushroom. He only wanted to trade for some spiritual currency. The bewitching woman's face immediately dropped in disappointment. She thought he was unzipping something else. Still, business was business. That single blood-soaked fungus netted him a staggering 40,000 spirit coins. With this massive wealth, he could finally afford the necromantic materials for his golden spirit cultivation. Meanwhile, the city square was erupting with chaotic energy. It was the registration zone for the Royal City Martial Tournament, a brutal proving ground where the weak perish. Every participant had to survive the preliminary trial. Only those who punched the sacred monolith and made it glow gold or higher would survive the cut. A chubby warrior charged forward like a wild boar. His fist slammed into the stone, igniting a bright green light. Barely passing, he stumbled into the preliminary rounds. The next challenger to step up was our undying hero. His eyes darkened with abyssal focus. He couldn't afford to hold back his monstrous strength now. Gathering dark aura, he unleashed a devastating strike. His fist collided with the ancient monolith. Boom! The unbreakable stone exploded into a million pieces. The crowd fell dead silent. What was the point of a tournament anymore? Just hand this monster the championship trophy. The third young master, who had come to watch the blood sport, instantly recognized the destroyer's face. Seeing his demonic friend casually annihilate the monolith, the young master broke out in a cold sweat. After treating our hero to a lavish feast, he leaned in with a grim warning. Brother Shen, are you truly walking into the royal city's death match? This bloodbath only opens once every 3 years. It is the ultimate slaughter ground for the South Martial Nation's prodigies. Why would I refuse such a perfect hunting ground? The young master swallowed hard. It seems you are completely in the dark, brother. The masterminds behind this year's tournament. It's not just the royal family, but the corrupt He clan as well. They have laid a lethal trap specifically to execute you. Hearing this, a wicked, bloodthirsty smile crept onto our hero's face. He was done playing the merciful saint. Let the hunters become the hunted. He immediately forged a dark pact with the third young master to orchestrate a devastating counterattack. Later that night, under the blood moon, he summoned the abyssal black sun cauldron. Surging his undying aura, he channeled the mighty azure dragon energy. The demonic chi flooded into the ancient artifact relentlessly. Suddenly, the cauldron began to mutate. Ethereal azure dragon scales carved themselves into the metal skin. An overwhelming divine radiance shattered the darkness of the room. The spectral maiden dwelling within his soul was shoved forward to test its terrifying new power. Our hero taunted her with a devilish grin. If you are too weak to handle it, just say so. And here I thought you were a legendary undead queen. Her ghostly pride wounded, she furiously manifested to touch the blazing artifact. The moment her ethereal fingertips grazed the cursed metal, violent tremors wrecked her entire spectral body. It was honestly a hilariously cute reaction. To think the terrifying holy maiden of the 9 underworlds could be reduced to a shivering mess. After surviving the torturous flames, her ghostly eyes widened. She finally recognized that terrifying, pure, masculine energy. This is the apocalyptic fire dragon blood jade. This cauldron isn't just a simple tool of death. It is an ancient, Holy Tier Dragon Artifact, a legendary treasure that defies the laws of mortality itself. A Holy Tier dragon weapon has no place in this pathetic mortal realm. Her undead heart beat wildly with newfound hope. If this terrifying brat can truly master its apocalyptic flames, then perhaps my senior sister and I can resurrect our shattered souls much faster than we planned. Our absolute dark reign will return ahead of schedule. Right at that moment, an explosion of ancient, blood-red runes erupted violently from the cauldron's core. Centuries of forbidden knowledge slammed directly into his mind. The true, horrifying origin of this demonic furnace was violently revealed to him. Forged in the primeval era of chaos, it was created by the legendary flame dragon sovereign himself. The dark chi flames, amplified by the trapped fire dragon blood jade, possessed the ungodly power to accelerate any catastrophic process. The alchemy process became infinitely more stable. But the true treasure was the cauldron itself. It contained a chaotic yin and yang formation, a forbidden array that warped the very fabric of time within its walls. By accelerating time, the medicinal efficacy was amplified to godlike levels. It was as if he had unlocked a divine system cheat code. Suddenly, the scent of death approached. He warned his cousin they were being hunted, just as a lethal arrow tore through the wind, aiming straight for his skull. Without even blinking, he casually deflected the fatal strike. He sent the projectile flying back into the shadows, instantly reaping an assassin's soul. This was no ambush. He had intentionally let the foolish third young master leak their coordinates to the underworld. The bloodhounds had eagerly taken the bait. But the main character was the true predator. He intended to harvest their lives to nourish his monstrous white tiger aura. A savage bloodbath erupted in the forest, yet the desperate assassins refused to cough up their master's identity. That is, until one brain-dead minion accidentally spilled the beans. He yelled, "If we confess everything, how will our Blackwind faction ever survive in the martial world?" It was a truly laughable blunder, sealing their tragic fate. Wasting no more time, he unleashed his tyrannical white tiger aura. The dark killing intent was absolutely suffocating. White tiger first form, prairie fire dance. He followed it instantly with the second form, radiating an unstoppable wave of destructive energy. The arrogant hunters were instantly crushed, leaving behind only agonizing screams that echoed through the pitch-black darkness. Trembling in absolute horror, the leader gasped, assuming this monster had reached the legendary 7th stage. In reality, our overpowered main character was only at the 6th stage, but his supreme 6th stage possessed the apocalyptic strength of a true demon lord. Stubborn to the bitter end, the leader chose death over betraying his mastermind. With cold, merciless eyes, our protagonist happily granted his final wish, blasting out a wave of lethal aura to drag his soul straight to the abyss, snatching the enemy's life away. But wait, how did this absolute trash recognize the demonic true chi? This dark power had completely vanished from the mortal realm centuries ago. Could he be a cursed descendant of some useless ancient disciple? Right before taking his last pathetic breath, the enemy spilled the dark truth about the Pill King Pavilion. Those cowards actually waited until our main character left his home undefended to launch a sneak attack. Blazing wrath erupted in Shen Qiang's eyes. He immediately summoned his blazing vermilion bird wings. He tore through the sky to rush back home. But to his absolute bewilderment, the estate was perfectly untouched. It turned out his father and uncle had arrived just in time to back them up. The old veterans even had the audacity to tease our boy, joking about his endless youthful stamina, since he spent days locked inside the Manor Lord's private chambers. Our main character was speechless. He swore he did absolutely nothing. They then casually mentioned. A group of lowly bandits had stormed the gates, but the twin elders crushed them with ease. However, tragedy struck without warning. His father violently coughed up black blood and collapsed to the floor. Panic gripped the room as the grandfather desperately examined his shattered core. His internal injuries were an absolute disaster. His true chi was violently flowing backward. This made no sense. They only fought a pathetic bandit leader at the 8th realm. Those scum must have weaponized some forbidden dark art. The demonic corruption had stayed perfectly dormant until this exact moment. It all traced back to a single venomous claw strike. Right then, his uncle also collapsed from the same lethal poison. Just like that, the legendary twin dragons of the Shen family were inches away from the Grim Reaper. If they had noticed a second later, it would have been an instant game over. Desperate for answers, he summoned Yu from the shadows. She revealed this was a high-tier demonic death art. The caster leaves a cursed brand, deeply embedded in the victim's flesh. It acts as a vile parasite, endlessly draining their true chi and life essence. Within less than 3 days, the victim is sucked completely dry into a withered corpse. Our main character, froze in pure, suffocating dread. Thankfully, the enemy's mastery over this dark art was absolute garbage. The ancestral uncle had managed to temporarily seal the corruption. Suddenly, Miao manifested from the void, showing off her heavenly and distracting curves. But wait a minute. If the enemy was playing with demonic arts, wasn't the breathtaking demoness right in front of him the literal grand ancestor of all dark magic? He frantically begged for her help. But demonic arts were forged for slaughter, not for playing savior. Smirking maliciously, Miao revealed a terrifyingly special method, her exclusive forbidden demonic art. The way she passed on the knowledge was intensely seductive. Let us just say the fan service was absolutely god tier. With this forbidden power flowing through his veins, he would easily become an unstoppable monster. Obliterating the Black Wind camp would be absolute child's play. The dark knowledge she forced into his mind allowed him to completely shatter his realm limits. In the blink of an eye, he could ruthlessly devour the enemy's entire cultivation base. It was the legendary devouring demonic art. A single tap on his forehead, and the terrifying power was his. But damn it, the chapter ends right at the ultimate cliffhanger. It always cuts to black when the blood is pumping at maximum levels. It is so unbelievably maddening. Do not forget to smash that like button for Bear if you want to see the next absolute massacre.